Hey everyone, let's jump right into this explainer. If you've ever burned days, literally days, trying to repurpose just one single piece of content, well, you know exactly how brutal that bottleneck is. Today, we're diving straight into the source material on Channel Helm. We're going to explore its unique approach to what we call content economics, and we'll unpack how it completely rewrites the rules of repurposing. Basically, it acts as this incredibly powerful local-first orchestration layer. Okay, let's get into it.
Okay, so look at this. A single video looks like a single asset, right? But it really isn't. You sit down, you record a massive 30-minute deep dive, and you naturally think of it as one completed thing. We've all been there, staring at a finished Premiere timeline, totally exhausted, but knowing deep down the real work is actually just beginning. The hard truth is, the true value of that video is trapped. It's locked inside that file, and extracting it, man, it is incredibly expensive when you look at the human hours required.
15. That's the magic number. That is roughly how many different platforms one foundational video could, and frankly, probably should, fan out to. We're talking YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, the whole shebang. But think about doing that extraction by hand, manually reviewing the footage, clipping it, writing specific copy tailored to the vibe of each network. Doing that takes the better part of a full workday for just one single video. It's wild.
Which brings us to our first main concept here, trapped inside one video.
Because that manual process is just so painstakingly slow, look at all the stuff that quietly evaporates into thin air. A perfectly clean transcript, a dozen highly engaging short clips, an entire article brief, multiple sets of thumbnails, a full-blown YouTube package with titles and descriptions, and literally a whole week's worth of platform-native social posts. Usually, what happens? Maybe one clip gets cut, one post goes up, and the rest is just left on the cutting room floor simply because the manual process is way too expensive to justify the effort.
So, let's look at Section 2, the Zero Marginal Cost Multiplier. So, the big question is, how do we fundamentally change the economics of content creation? Well, this is exactly where an orchestration layer comes in. Think of Channel Helm as this smart system sitting just slightly above your main content engine, something like Dojo Claw, for instance. You drop in a video, and locally, in one single pass, Channel Helm drafts all of it. It generates an on-brand publishing kit for every single platform. It routes the editorial stuff right into your content engine and pushes the social output exactly where it needs to go. It's one ingest, perfectly fanned out across your whole stack.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. The real leverage here is in skipping the blank page 15 times over. It is not about removing the editor. The point isn't to have AI just take the wheel, completely replace human judgment, and auto-write all your captions. No way. It's that generating those first drafts collapses the marginal cost of fanning out your content. Once the tool understands your video, producing that 16th asset costs practically nothing. You are still the boss. You review, you edit, you approve, and you ship.
Moving on to Section 3, reading video in 4 layers. Let's see how it actually works.
To generate a genuinely good first draft, the system actually has to comprehend your source material. It can't just mechanically reformat some text. The source breaks this down into 4 distinct layers. First up, audio. This handles the transcription and speaker diarization, getting everything timed out to the exact word. Second is visual, detecting scene cuts, describing the frames, and pulling any on-screen text using OCR. Third, we have fusion, which is exactly what it sounds like. It aligns that audio and visual data into one perfectly timestamped scene log. And finally, intelligence. This 4th layer is the real game changer. It actively identifies topics, hooks, and actual retention windows. That means when a clip is cut, it's cut because something actually worked in that specific window. You aren't just getting 90 random seconds of dead air.
Plus, every single asset that gets generated carries its provenance. That means you will always know exactly which model, which version of a prompt, and which specific inputs actually produce the asset. Absolutely nothing is hidden in a black box here. If you're an editor and you're approving work at a really high volume, you absolutely need to know what you're signing off on, right? This layer of intelligence and provenance tracking ensures you keep total, uncompromising control. All right, Section 4, the local first architecture.
For a tool like this to be trusted with your most valuable media, it demands a very specific set of engineering choices. We're looking at Next.js 15, TypeScript, Drizzle, PostgreSQL, a custom job queue, and Apple Silicon for that machine learning layer. You know what? It's a deliberately boring, highly durable stack. And honestly, that is a massive feature. Channel Helm avoids creating this sprawling mess of microservices. So you won't be spending your weekends playing server whack-a-mole just to get a TikTok posted. You own the pipeline, and it's actually simple enough for you to maintain all by yourself.
Now, this whole setup is built on two core philosophies. On one hand, it's provider agnostic. You can bring your own model, whether you prefer OpenAI, Anthropic, or even your own local instance. That means absolutely zero vendor lock-in. But on the other hand, it is emphatically local first. The heavy lifting, the actual media understanding, runs right there on your own machine. Your media never leaves it. The only external dependency you have is the social publishing API at the very end of the line. If you're someone who handles sensitive, unreleased footage, this local-first property isn't just a nice little bonus. It is quite literally the only reason you can safely use a tool like this.
Let's transition to Section 5, the honest bear case, because we need to look at both sides.
Look, no system is perfect. We have to be totally honest about the maintenance loads and the risks you're taking on here. First up is API surface area risk. Relying on 15 different platforms means relying on 15 different APIs that, let's face it, love to change or break without any warning. That's a pretty broad failure footprint. Second, there's what the source calls the first draft trap. If you skip that human review step, this tool makes it dangerously easy to flood your channels with lightly checked, mediocre content. Human editorial gates are absolutely essential. And finally, hardware costs. Doing real video understanding locally requires upfront capital for capable hardware, specifically Apple Silicon.
Which leads us nicely into Section 6, the ultimate bull case.
So we have to weigh those risks against the staggering potential of this system. Sure, you take on integration maintenance, but in return, you get genuine leverage on creative acts you've already performed. Yes, you have to actively guard against the first draft trap, but your reward is a near-zero marginal cost to expand your multi-platform footprint. And yes, there are upfront hardware costs, but they buy you total privacy and stamped provenance for every single asset. Sitting above your content engine, Channel Helm doesn't compete with your stack at all. It feeds it. It removes that dreaded blank page, while keeping the final edit firmly and safely in human hands.
Which brings us to the final thought from today's explainer. Channel Helm essentially proves that the blank page, staring you down 15 times over, was never the valuable part of your work anyway. The real value is your insight. So here's the question. If that blank page is no longer your bottleneck, what are you going to build with all those extra hours? Think about it. Thanks for joining me to break this down, and keep building.